Greetings and welcome to another special episode of Out the Box Talks. I am your host, Cril. I'm so excited for another episode. This is episode 94. So we are making it happen. I'm getting closer to that 100th episode. Wow, I'm actually almost at 95. So that's like 5 more episodes and I'm at 100. Yo, I'm so excited about that. Man, what a year it has been. I'm so excited to have the guests that we have on our show today. We're going to really get into it in terms of his career and, a lot of the dope things he's been doing musically. But before I do that, I want to shout out some things related to Out the Box. As you know, I always have to plug the website, outtheboxmedia.com, where you can pretty much go to get access to all of our previous episodes, dating all the way back to 2009, right here on this YouTube platform, Out the Box TV, right? Also, I have something new that I started out. I have a new YouTube channel right now, and I'm trying to make it like these daily reviews of like new hip hop albums and new soul albums that come out. So something new that I'm trying. Most of y'all might know me through my social media platforms, Out the Box Media on Instagram and Twitter, where I post regularly about new hip hop and new soul music that's coming out. I kind of wanted to start a vlog doing that. So if you are interested in that, definitely head over to Out the Box on YouTube. That's my other channel where I'll be doing primarily music reviews. I could use the subscribers over there as well. So I just wanted to mention that because I know a lot of the people that listen here are real, thorough hip hop heads, and y'all love being informed about new music. So yeah, definitely go check that out if you get a chance. Also, I want to shout out my merch page, outtheboxmedia.bigcartel.com, where you can get snapbacks like this hat right here, Out the Box TV. And I also have Out the Box Talks podcast merch like t-shirts and hats. A lot of cool stuff over there if you want to support the platform and rock cool gear at the same time. All right. Also, we have our Patreon page where you can get access to exclusive interview clips that are not available to the public. This is only for those who become Patreons. It's a very low cost fee, monthly subscription of just $2 a month. Honestly, if I could just give it away for one full fee, like one-time fee, I would do it, but that's not how the subscription model works, but if you could just get on there and check it out, even if you say, you know what, I'm gonna just subscribe for a month. I'm not encouraging you to do that, but if you just subscribe for a month just to get access to the interviews and cancel your subscription, I'm cool with that. Of course, I want you to stay longer, but I really, really want you to get access to these interview clips. There's over 30 interview clips that you can find on the platform, on the Patreon page, that, I'm sure something in there you'll be insightful to hear. And if you go to this same link, it'll give you a list of all the different artists that are featured on the Patreon. All right. Also, if you would like to donate to the platform, you could donate via Cash App at #OutTheBoxRep. You could also donate via PayPal at paypal.me/OutTheBoxMedia. And what else am I missing? I think that's it. The other thing I did want to mention is if you're listening or if you're watching this interview and this episode on YouTube, you can also find a high quality podcast on Anchor, Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts, etc. This is the high quality audio podcast. So definitely, if that's something you're interested in, you can go over there and follow and listen wherever you generally listen to audio podcasts. All right. So like I said, man, I got another dope guest on the show today. So I don't want to prolong this intro for too long, but I always have to get this information out. So yeah, I just want to go ahead and kick things off by introducing the artist that I have on the platform today. Just a little background info about him. He's been actually putting out music, I want to say, since maybe wow, like probably like 2013, man. Like he's been like doing music for a long time. He's put out a number of production projects, so a lot of beat tapes, and they're actually on his Bandcamp page. I mean, when you go there, you would just see like, beat tape after beat tape, singles after singles, EPs after EPs. He's been doing this thing. He's from Detroit. He's extremely talented. One of the uh very talented artists that I've heard in recent years that I don't think gets a lot of recognition for his talent. And I'm really excited to talk to him today about a number of his work and his output as a musician. He just recently released a single not too long ago entitled Around, where you find him singing on the single, which is a cool single. But for the last, I feel like for the full of this year, he's put out a number of like small beat tape projects entitled Illingsworth volumes 1 through 4. So if you've gotten a chance to check that, then you can definitely, be a witness to his talent as a beat maker, and just as a beatsmith. So yeah, man, we're gonna chop it up with the brother tonight. Like I said, he is hailing from the city of Detroit. So I want to introduce to our Out the Box Talks viewing and listening audience, please give a warm welcome to my brother, the MC, the producer, the overall talent himself, the homie, Illingsworth. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Glad to be here. Happy to be here.
What's good, brother? How are you? What's going on?
I'm doing all right. I mean, like I was saying before we started, I am a little bit tired just because, of daylight savings time. My body feels like it's an hour later than the clock says. So I'm dealing with that. You know what I'm saying? My daughter was zapping my battery earlier. You know what I mean? But we here now. We gonna make the best of it.
I could dig it, man. And I totally hear you, man. When the clock went back the other night, I just felt like I got through the day on Sunday and I had made some moves. I went outside, ran some errands, and I came back and I thought it was like 7 o'clock in the evening, and it was like a little after 4. I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow, where did the day go? So I definitely dig the whole daylight savings, getting adjusted to that. So yeah, man. So, like I said, man, I got so much I want to talk to you about today. I know you recently put out a single Around, which I just spoke about in the intro, and you've put out a number of beat tapes as well this year. But before we even go into your music, I do want to ask you so that you could, share with our audience, how did you get interested in pursuing music professionally? Where did that all begin for you?
Mm. I guess for me, it kind of started with my big brother. I got an older brother who also can rhyme and make beats. And when I was little, him and his homies had a rap group. You know what I'm saying? They had a DJ, and you know what I'm saying. So I would always see him like doing his thing. They had the turntables, they had the mics, etc. So that was kind of like the spark of it, man. So I've been wanting to be making music since I was like 5 probably or younger, you know what I mean? Like I've always enjoyed music and wanted to make it. Um and as I grew up, got through what was I doing back in the day? I used to do pause tapes. You know what I'm saying, through elementary and middle school, and then like high school, I met a whole bunch of homies. We started a rap crew around that time. I got a compact Presario computer,
I
and I
remember
started
that.
I started making beats on that. You know what I mean? And then it just went from there, man. Like, did various groups with homies, produced for various people, and that's just what I've been doing.
Wow. So beats came first. That was like your introduction to actually making music.
Actually, no. My introduction to making music was actually through writing rhymes.
Dope, dope.
Because like the oldest rhyme I can remember writing, uh, I was around the age of 5, and it was like a rap about the Ninja Turtles. But the rap came first, and then the production kind of came out of necessity. Um, back when I first had the will to want to try to record some raps. It was during a time where like the internet was not as developed, and it was way harder to like get the type of beats that you would want to rap over. So like I said, out of necessity, I started trying to learn how to make beats for myself and for my friends. And eventually I guess I got enough skill at it where people people were like, yo, those are good beats. And so that kind of became a part of the persona as well, just like being a producer as well as a rapper. Like I consider myself a rapper who has tricked people into thinking I'm a producer. You know what I'm saying? That's how I look at myself.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think I told you this earlier before we started. Like, I'm more of a fan of you as an MC, you know. But
Thank
when I looked at your catalog, I'm like, gosh, she does a lot of beat tapes. You know what I mean?
you.
And
Right.
like so much that I can't even keep up. And you're really good at that too. You have some really dope beats. But yeah, so it's actually gratifying to hear you say that, you're kind of like an MC at heart, so that's good to hear, man. So you've put out way more beat tapes, like I said, than you've released like MC projects. What is it about the beat making that encourages you to release more instrumental tapes?
Well, that for me, that's kind of simple. As much as I love to rap and to write raps, um, for me, I consider that way more difficult an endeavor
Mm,
to write raps. And I kind of, my subject matter is all over the place, but I care a lot about what I say and how I say it, so it just makes that process a little bit more difficult for me. From literally generating the things to even just deciding what I want to let people hear. It's just more difficult with beats. For me, it's way easier for me to like catch a particular feeling and convey that, because it's I approach that in a much simpler way, you know and the way like beat culture is, um it's just way easier to like think about something in terms of like, I'm gonna make a beat that's a minute and a half, and I'm gonna have some drops, I'm gonna have these cool parts come in, and whatever, and be done with it. Like with raps, I'm very critical about like how I put things, because I want I want everything to make sense. I want everything to be clear. Um, and I just, like I said, it just makes it way more difficult for me.
nah, that makes so much sense. And sometimes I think when we think about MCs, we think that they're so talented that it's just that easy, right? As a listener, when we, outside looking in, it's just that easy for them to put that together. But I know at the heart of it, like it definitely takes some thought. So it's good to actually hear you say that. And that's probably the reason why I want to say we haven't heard much like a new like MC project from you recently. Is that kind of what it is? That time that it takes for you to put in? lyrically?
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. I mean, the state of the world kind of
Right.
scrambled my brain for a minute. Being a new dad, like all these things,
Congratulations.
like in culmination, kind of like made it a little bit more difficult on top of my on top of the inherent difficulty that I experience with things. But I'm slowly building up some things in the background. I've been writing. I'm always jotting down stuff. Now it's just a matter of like pulling things together into cohesive like song ideas. And for me, like it's funny. I make a lot of beats, but for me, it's kind of hard also like matching lyrics with beats. You
Mm,
know, it's kind of weird. Like the type of I feel like the type of beats that people like me for are not the type of beats that I want to rap on.
interesting.
So it kind of makes it weird sometimes when I'm trying to figure out like what I would like to rap on. Um
What are those types of beats, if you had to describe them, the beats that people like you for?
I don't know how I would describe those. I think the type of beats that I like to rhyme on tend to be like more simple and more kind of loopy. You know what I mean? Like I have various styles of making beats where I could chop stuff up very finely. I could do stuff that's kind of traditional, out of the box, whatever. But the stuff that I like to rap on myself is usually like super simple stuff.
Dope, dope, dope. So talk to me a little bit about the Illingsworks, beat EPs. I guess I'll call them that because they're not like they're kind of short.
Hmm.
What inspired you to create them and then roll them out like at different moments in the year like that? Because you go from volume 1 through volume 4 throughout this entire year being rolled out at different times.
Right. Well, man, for me, man, I don't have any kind of grand strategy, man. Like I'm a scatterbrain. I just kind of do stuff and put it out when I feel like it. Uh, Me and my friend, shout out King Cats. We have been spending a lot of time in nature. They have been teaching me some things about photography, so I've been like taking pictures. Some
Mm,
all the covers of those are like pictures that I've taken this summer. You know what I'm saying? Just random pictures. Uh, as far as the beats, um, I'll try to condense a long story or whatever. But I had an opportunity a year ago to like submit some beats to certain people. So I started this new habit that I had not done before of like creating a Dropbox folder and then every day putting at least one render of a new beat into this Dropbox folder. And in doing that, because that's been one of my like struggles as far as like beat making. I make a lot of beats, but I often don't like render those beats into MP3s. And so
mm,
like it then becomes harder to collaborate with people if you don't have things that you can send them
right.
that they can listen to. You know what I'm saying? So got all these beats in this folder. As far as the opportunities that I've been able to create with those beats, um, I still have a lot of unused beats. So I was like, I should just, let off some beat tapes. And I had kind of been like posting snippets of some of these beats onto my Instagram, all throughout the year. And so kind of what I did was I just picked like some of those and then some that I had in the stash to just make like short beat tapes. Kind of let people know that I'm still alive. You know what I mean? Because the way things move, if you're not releasing stuff constantly, people kind of forget about you. Um, so I just been doing that, putting those together like that. I might do a couple more before the year is over. Who knows? It depends on how I feel. But yeah, like technically the names of those projects are hashtag Illingsworks. Like hashtag
Ah,
is actually part of the title. Why I did that, I don't know.
okay.
but that's what they're called.
Dope, dope. So you have a single that I alluded to earlier entitled Around. I think it was released like what, maybe like a week ago or something like that, or 2 weeks ago. And it finds you experimenting with singing for around like 3 minutes. And it's a really good effort, by the way. Let me say that. What was it like recording your vocals on this track? And how were you able to get to the place where you were satisfied with how, you displayed your singing on it?
Well, when it comes to singing, like that's not my strength. So I wouldn't necessarily say I was satisfied with what I did, but it's one of those things where even though I've talked about how like writing raps is difficult for me, um, it's still something I'm comfortable with. You know what I mean? With given even with the difficulty, as well as like making beats, I'm very comfortable with making beats. I kind of wanted to do something musically that I was just not comfortable with, to just see what would happen. And I enjoy singing. So I was like, yo, let me go in the vaults, because I have experiments with all kind of stuff from various years. So I just went in the vaults, found a couple of things, tweaked a couple of things here and there, and just decided to release them, willy nilly. You know what I mean? I got another one called 80 Days with You. That's another singing joint that I released recently as well.
Right.
Um, and yeah, man, like it's been interesting. Like I feel like I've been getting a decent response around both of those. So it's been cool. It's been cool to do that and see some people like actually messing with it.
Yeah. Like, I mean, even though you're kind of like, it feels like you're playing with this, with the singing on it. It never comes across like cheesy, or I would even go as far to say it doesn't even come across unprofessional. Like it sounds good. Like that's like, it has the signature Illingsworth kind of playful voice to it, but it still sounds professional. Like, I don't know if that makes sense to you, but that's what I gathered from it. So it's like the quality is definitely there. So I think you did an awesome job with that, man.
Thank you. That makes perfect sense what you said, and it's honestly the best compliment I can ask for. You know what I'm saying?
Word,
So
word.
thank you.
No doubt. So your music has a lot of hilarious moments to it. Like I was just talking about the playful, Illingsworth. And whether it's in your lyrics, your skits, or even your vocal ad-libs, you just share a lot of funny moments. Are those funny moments ever really planned, or do they just come together at the time? Like, how do you know when you've captured like a good humorous moment on certain tracks?
Man, I'm planning is not a thing I'm good at. So most of what you get within the music is kind of just whatever vibe or wave people were on at the time. Whether it's my solo stuff, whether it's the stuff I've done, with my group, my trio, Detroit City, with Rufio Jones, the Sean Uppercut, especially that stuff, like that music, the Detroit City music, CYDI is like really just like music music for and by three friends. So
Yeah,
all of that stuff very much has a thread of just like unplanned, off the cuff silliness.
right.
And it's something that I still enjoy doing, because the way I approach that is decidedly different than the way I approach like solo stuff. Like for me, it's way easier to rap with my two homies, because in those situations I'm trying to get reactions from them in order to like keep myself engaged and enjoying the process.
Interesting.
Um, and it's way less stressful,
Wow.
because I'm responsible for my part, and that's it. I'm not
Right,
responsible for
right.
like like I'm responsible for helping to curate a good song at the end of the process, but I'm not responsible for the entirety of the song. So there's a different stress level, I guess,
Right, right,
in
right.
doing that kind of stuff.
Nah, and it makes perfect sense. It sounds like, it's the chemistry that you have just being friends kind of brings out that silliness, or that just that freedom to, to be like that on the track, Yeah, that's what's up. So with all of your MC projects you've released already, I get the sense that you're pretty free with the subject matter you talk about. I don't really see much like heavy concept, albums or projects coming from you. Like, what's usually your general aim for each MC project that you do? If you
Hmm.
want to sum that up.
Again, man, I don't know if I necessarily have an aim. Like the way I tend to write, um, in one verse, you might get a little bit of everything. You might get something
Right,
silly, you might get an interesting turn of phrase,
right.
you might get an interesting rhythmic pattern, an interesting rhyme scheme. You might get like a some sort of jewel sprinkled in. You know what I mean? Like I tend to just uh I try to just, bring in however I'm feeling at the time, and that, that encompasses a wide range of things, and most of my songs are kind of like that. Um, I think as far as like, if I could, if there is an aim, there's an aim to like when I get done with a song, um, I don't know, like I have to get some kind of spark from it to feel
Mhm.
like this is a good song. Um, and if I don't feel that, then nobody gets to hear it. you
Mm,
know so really it's just making sure that I feel good about the individual songs, and then afterwards trying to figure out how to uh you know fit those things together in some sort of cohesive project, which is still kind of a weird thing to undertake for me anyway, because like I say, my raps are kind of all over the place, which
yeah.
is how I like them. I like being all over the place you know
So, you know, I want to actually go through some of your MC projects, and I want to start from the most recent going back.
Okay.
So I want to start, and I mean, I'm not going to go through it like literally track for everyone, but I'm just going to be highlighting each one. All right. So
Okay.
I want to start with I didn't think this through, the 2017 demos, which was released last year, even though most of it was actually recorded in 2017. Your Bandcamp description explains that these tracks were all ideas you started and would probably never finish. So I'm glad that you were able to get it out there and let it go, and people can now listen to it. But what made you feel comfortable enough to put it out, to put this project out as it is, technically unfinished?
Well, part of what made me feel comfortable is just I don't know, like there was a few years back when I went out of my way to release a short EP every month, and I did that for like 14 months. And
Mm,
in me doing that, it was me trying to not be so like stingy with letting material out, and not be so like self-critical. Because when you hold on to stuff, you holding on to a lot of energy. So I was trying to get into the habit of releasing that stuff so I could just feel comfortable. And this is kind of born, like all these other projects are kind of born from that same kind of energy, man. Like I have a critical side to me where I could be so critical that I'll never put out anything.
mm,
um and with that particular group of things, I've been sitting on that stuff for so long. I was like, man, I'm never gonna finish this. But I like bits and pieces of this stuff. And I kind of feel, I think this is true. Like, I feel like, I'm kind of under a lot of people's radar.
hmm
And so like I exist in a space where, if I want to just release some demos, I can put them out there, and the people that really want to hear them are going to hear them.
right.
I'm not really, I don't feel any kind of embarrassment or worry about any of that stuff, because I'm like, it's only a few people listening. that's how I feel about it. You know, and not, you know, I'm not like minimizing, you know, the the
The reach.
well, like those people are important, but it's still just a small amount of people. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Like those people are not unimportant. It's
Right.
just not a lot of people that listen to my stuff. At least that's the way I see it. You know
Mm,
what I'm saying? So yeah, you know, I just wanted to let people hear these ideas before they just fell so far down back in the vaults or whatever that they never emerged, you know.
yeah. And I think for your true fans, I mean, I would think that they would appreciate that, right? Like, as a fan of music myself, like I almost would rather hear the music come out unfinished than never hear it at all. If like I had to choose between the two, I know it's like two extremes, but I choose the let me hear it. Let me hear what you got. You know what I mean? You know, so I'm glad that you actually put it out because like as I said earlier, like I don't it's been a little while since we've heard like like a actual, and I'm not even saying like a full length project, just at least an EP of you just like rhyming straight through. So I think it was a smart move that you did it. But I wanted to ask you about that because there's so many people that will not put out the music, right? And they're literally sitting on it, and then one day, you know, maybe not artists that are not so known, but let's say the artists that are more known and the album ends up getting leaked and stuff, and like now it's out and it's there for people to consume. It's like you could have just put it out and garnered whatever sales you needed to get from it early, you know. So I think it was dope that you did it. I wasn't how you say, I wasn't disappointed in it, you know. So that's what's up. So
Thank you.
yeah, indeed. You also note that when you're demoing stuff, you'll write most of most of it, then you'll try to freestyle the last 4 to 6 bars in order to come up with an ending or a new idea on the fly. How difficult is it for you to go from a written track to a freestyle that complements the song in the end?
I wouldn't say it's that difficult because the way I write, um, you know, as I'm writing the bars, I'm also like practicing it at the same time. Cause usually, like, I'm not the type of person who like writes something, sits on it for a while, then records it. I kind of write it and then record it shortly after.
Mm.
And so in doing that, I'm kind of already in the mindset to like I'm kind of already writing it in my head anyway, like that you know, whatever the ending is going to be. And so it's not too difficult to like play around towards the end of it and try to figure something out that can stick. Um, but you know, it's a process that I use sometimes. I don't use it all of the time, but you know, so in the times that I've used it, sometimes I will get like a good you know, finishing line or lines out of it. So you know, it's not like a technique that I will probably throw away anytime soon.
Yeah, yeah. You know, being able to record it in the moment or in the same day makes a lot of sense as to why, you know, it would be a little bit easier. So that definitely makes sense. So on the second song of this EP, I didn't think this through. You say grind inside the lab until the plan works. You can't afford to be a fan first. I think you open the track
Yeah.
with that line. Why is being a fan have to be placed as a secondary option and not possibly even a simultaneous position you take as an artist?
Well, you know, as far as like you know, the kind of impact that I wanted to give lyrically right there, kind of like a sense of I wanted to give it like a sense of like desperation almost,
Mm.
you know, in the writing. And also, you know, sometimes when I write stuff, I'm writing from a place of like you know, just trying to find uh couplets of sounds. So like plan works, fan first. If you keep going through it, it's like and shirt, span, spurt, transfer, man's work. Like I'm trying to like get these sounds. And so like even if it's not necessarily something that I fully, because that, you know, that to say like I can't afford to be a fan first, like that's kind of just me writing to say something uh you know, with some kind of impact. It's not necessarily how I feel. You know what I
I mean,
mean?
I'll be honest. If you really felt like that, I totally understand it. Because when you opened it with that line, like I took it like that. I was like, yo, I get where he's coming from, you know. So that's cool. But thanks for you know, explaining how that came to be.
Word.
Indeed,
Word.
indeed.
I mean,
So
some. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say like sometimes, you know, that feeling of desperation is real. You know, I'm a person who is like I've put a lot of eggs into this basket at various times in my life. So probably at that time that might have been like really what it was. Like I can't afford to be a fan first, you know.
Nah, that's real. That's real. So um a lot of times in your lyrics, and you alluded to this earlier too, there's this loose stream of consciousness happening with your rhymes that don't necessarily tie into a concept or underlying message, but it sounds really dope and clever. Like you were talking about the different, you were just giving examples of different rhyming words. I feel like the track Clutch on this project is a good example of that. How do you begin and end that stream of consciousness with your rhymes?
Hmm. Well, I'm always thinking of things that I might think would be clever to go thinking of things that I might think. I don't know how to talk, sir. I'm always thinking of things that might be clever to put in a rhyme and just jotting down like, you know, singular lines or bars or whatever. And so you know, sometimes they'll start from that. I might just have like a line or two, and what I'll do is you know, whatever the thought that's being expressed in that line, I'll just try to like carry it through, but while also trying to maintain a rhyme scheme. And you know, sometimes that can be really difficult for me.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's really easy, but it's really just that type of thing, trying to make sure that even if the subject matter is jumping all over the place, that each thing flows to the next thing.
Mm.
You know, like I don't know a good example off the top of the head, but I just try to make sure like that the jumps aren't too far from line to line. You know
Right,
what I mean? And you know, as far as like the things being clever, you know, I guess that comes from just like the styles of rap that I enjoyed growing up. You know, had people that were saying clever things, things that were funny, things that were smart. So I try to do that myself to the best of my ability in my raps, and hopefully, you know, that comes through when people listen. Like, oh, this is clever, this is interesting. You know, this is raising my eyebrow and whatnot.
yeah, it definitely comes through as I listen to your music. Like I have to say, like your music, especially as a lyricist, it's on par with what I hear like Elzai do or I'll hear like Lupe do. You know,
Wow.
yeah,
Thank you.
like straight up. And it's also the music comes across in this way a lot of times. Like I'll listen to it and I'll know it's dope without having to really like uncover every line and every word and try to figure out what you're saying. Like I can tell like you're putting words together carefully, and it's not just you just mumble jumbling words together. Like, you know, like it's well thought out without me even being able to know what the message is in the actual or what you're actually saying, if that makes any sense. Like I can gather that when I listen to your music and I'm like, yo, this shit just sounds dope. You know what I mean? Like, word. So your Old Man Rap EP was released in 2019, and the self-titled track, you start with the words, "Wait until my corporate partners hear about the slander." And you go into a story that sounds like it's about an artist being confronted with aging in the industry. Can you explain further what the track is referring to and the message you wanted to convey with the Old Man Raps?
Well, I mean, old man raps, you know, like a lot of my stuff, the themes, even when they're present, are super duper loose. Um, so on one hand, old man raps is kind of about like how I feel as somebody who is, you know, been around for as long as I've been around.
Okay.
Or maybe how maybe I think people see me, because I don't necessarily feel old, but I'm probably old to a lot of people as far as like rapping and rap goes or whatever, you know, for the people that care about that. Why, I don't know why people care about that, but for the people that care about that, but also kind of like the styles that I use are you know, they're not the contemporary mainstream styles of rap. You know what I'm saying? I'm typically not rapping over stuff that's in the trap tempo. I'm not using those types of cadences. So in that way, it's kind of like old man raps as well. And also, I feel like I have more of an appeal to people of a certain age. You know what I'm saying? Like the in the types of raps that I make and the ways that I rap. Um, you know, and on that particular track, a lot of my stuff, man, like, you know, has, you know, a very strong current of like the braggadocio type stuff. Cause again, that's the type of stuff that I grew up on and enjoyed. And so I kind of do my version of that. My version of that can sometimes veer towards, you know, also talking about nerdy stuff or self-deprecating things. You know what I mean? But that's what I bring to it personally to differentiate myself from, you know, somebody who uses these styles, who is solely just rapping about like how great they are. You know what I'm saying? I sometimes I'll rap about how great I don't think I am, but I try to do it in a clever way and in a way that sounds interesting enough to where, you know, people can find something special about it.
Got it, got it. So just to be clear, on that particular track, the self-titled track, Old Man Raps, is the character you or is it someone else?
Uh, I mean, well, excuse me.
Okay.
You know, Illingsworth kind of is a character. You know what I mean? So, you know, whenever I'm 99 times out of 100 when I'm rapping, it's a character. You know what I mean? It's a character that has aspects of myself magnified.
Okay.
Um, you know, because even on like a face-to-face basis, like when I'm out in the streets and I meet people, I don't introduce myself as Illingsworth. I introduce myself as my name. My name is Donovan. Um, so I kind of make a separation in my life as well. You know what I'm saying? If you meet me in the streets, I'm Donovan. You might not ever know that I make music unless you know, are in the know.
Got it.
You know.
Speaking of names, like how did you come up with the name Illingsworth?
Well, that name I came up with it a very very long time ago. You know, one part of it is just like you know, rappers and rap's fascination with the word ill. So like wanting to have ill in my name, and also it literally came from reading this book that I barely remember at this point, but this book called The Scarlet Letter.
Right.
Uh,
That
it
book.
had it had a character in it called Dr. Chillingworth.
Ah, that's where the Doc Illingsworth came
Ye- Yeah, it was just kind of like hearing that name and like, oh, if I knock off this letter and put an S in there, I got ill in my name, and it flows a little bit better with the S in there. You know what I'm saying? So that's where it came from. Later, as I continued making music, I decided to get rid of the doctor part. So like now it's just Illingsworth. It's been that way maybe for like the last 5 or so years, or maybe.
Why'd you get rid of the Doc?
Well, you know what? I feel like I don't know where I heard this, but I feel like I heard somebody say that like in the realm of hip hop, somebody else has to bestow you with the title of doctor. You know what I mean? And like I kind of like self-applied that. So I was like, that's one reason I should take it off. And Dr. Illingsworth is a very long name.
Right, right.
It's a lot of syllables. So, you know, I decided to get rid of the doctor.
So do you think you'll ever reach a point where you get bestowed and the Doc returns?
I mean, maybe, hopefully, you know, maybe if somebody that, you know, I could consider like an OG pops up and
Word.
put that doctor back on there, you know, maybe so.
That'd be cool. So man, you just said something about Chillingsworth. What was it about this character Chillingsworth? Because I remember the book, but honestly, I don't really remember much about the story. But what was it about the character Chillingsworth that made you say, you know what? You know, I liken myself to this character. Maybe
Well,
not.
well, yeah, that's the thing. It's kind of messed up in a way. Like there, I definitely wanted to use the name because of the way I could flip it and put ill in it. But at the time, man, like I had the kind of low self-esteem, man, and the character in the book just had a very like gnarly description. You know what I
Mm,
mean? Like the way he was being described, you know, I can't remember it verbatim.
right.
But like the way he was being described was just very, I don't know. He didn't seem like somebody that people wanted to be around. And so
Mhm,
like, you know, at the time, like that kind of fit where I was at mentally, like being uh, you know, where I was back in school. I had my crew of rap homies, but I didn't really feel like I fit in with the
mhm.
with the rest of the people around me. And so you know, that's what kind of made me gravitate to that at the time.
Got
But
it.
you know, later it just took on a different meaning. Like, you know.
Yeah, it's always interesting how names end up over time taking on a different meaning, man. What would you say is that different meaning it took on?
Well, I mean, there's like a very silly one that people, you know, bring up when they say my name, like you're getting your Illingsworth. You know what I'm saying? Like just silly stuff like that. But I don't know, man. Like I think a lot of it is just I've had it for so long. And if I were to switch my name to something else, it would probably just be my real name.
Mm,
But that would also have to come with like me going like maybe like a level or two deeper as far as like how personal the material is. And I don't know if I want to do that. I don't know if I want to like give people too much more of like me, like Donovan me.
I
You know what
got
I'm saying? Like I'll save that for when I, you know, get on my, you know, grown and sexy, whatever you want to call it vibe. You know what I'm saying? Like my 444 vibe or whatever.
the
I'll
old
become
old
Donovan.
man raps. The old man raps.
Right. Older man
Older
raps.
man raps. Yeah, exactly. So the self-titled track on the You're No Fun album is probably one of my favorite MC track of yours.
Word.
It reminds me of MF Doom's Deep Fried Friends. For those
Word up.
that don't know, it's a song that talks about this egotistical person, you know, and the multiple reasons why this person is disliked. You know, this self-titled track, You're No Fun. What inspired you to write a track like this, and how were you able to explain the character so effortlessly on the track?
Well, for something like that, um, you know, a lot of it is just inspired by real life interactions with people.
Mm,
Um, but also a thing that I've employed in like just that style of like braggadocio rap is sometimes, you know, I look at myself and the people close to me for, you know, things that I consider to be flaws or weird quirks. And you know how when people sometimes with MCs write raps, they're rapping at that hypothetical you person, like it's not anybody specific. For me, like sometimes it's like me taking my own flaws and flipping them in a way where, you know, it sounds like I'm rapping about or at somebody, but you know,
mm,
some of the stuff could very well be like, you know, things that I do that I don't necessarily like, uh you know, or ways that I felt. um you know, sometimes I've felt like when I go into places, people change up, switch up, you know what I mean? So, you know, sometimes you know, that stuff gets conveyed that way, you
mm.
know,
I could
if that
dig
makes sense.
that. Makes a lot of sense. So my favorite beats of yours tend to have the chopped up singing sample repeated on the instrumental, like on the songs Coins and E-Verse on the You're No Fun album. How are you able to create those types of beats, you know, manipulating the vocal sample and do it
Hmm.
so well?
Well, you know, I feel like, so kind of to jump back to one of the things that we were saying earlier, like I feel like that's the style of beat that I feel like I'm known for. So it's interesting that you bring that up. I guess the way that I approach that is like very early on when I started making beats, some of the producers that I followed were kind of expressing uh you know, the struggles of trying to sample things and get samples cleared or literally evade clearance by chopping the things up so finely that you don't know where they came from.
Mhm,
And so like that was kind of a thing, that was kind of one of the tenets or ideals that I tried to like incorporate into my style as I was trying to like develop my own beat making style. Is like chopping things up very finely. Um and so that's part of it. Part of it is just like, you know, as a person who enjoys singing, I don't necessarily consider myself a singer, but I like listening to singing. There are certain things about the ways that people sing that kind of, you know, send a chill up my spine. And when I'm making those types of beats, I'm kind of listening for those moments in the songs that I sample to inspire
mhm,
me to chop it up. Um, so like some of that is like just like sample selection, like the raw materials that I'm getting are ones that actually evoke some kind of feeling in me. Um, you know, because I really that's my favorite way to make beats is really just hearing something that really gives me a chill up my spine and inspires me to chop it up. I can sit down and just mechanically make beats, but that's not as fun as doing something that's inspired. Now, as somebody who you know, has tried to kind of make a career out of this, I cannot always wait for inspiration.
mhm,
But like for those types of sample chops, a lot of time it's just being inspired by the source material and just trying to figure out how to string it together in a way that's still pleasing to my ear. Um, the software that I've been using for the last I don't know how many years has been primarily Ableton. Before that, I was using Sony Acid,
mhm,
but you know, the process is kind of the same of just chopping chopping things up very finely and trying to put it back together in an interesting way.
mhm.
Um, and being that these are computer softwares, not only can I hear it, I can kind of see it, and that kind of helps guide the process too, like the vision and sight.
Mm.
Um, you know.
Are you using any like a MIDI keyboard or a drum pad or anything connected to do the chopping, or is it straight up? computer software, PC, or you know?
Well, when I first started making beats for myself, there was no pads, anything really in the process. I was doing everything on a computer with a mouse,
Hmm.
chopping things up. It's a lot of it's funny, it's a lot of homies who also came up that kind of started that way as well. Like a tall black guy is somebody
Shout
who
out to
he
Tall Black Guy. I just interviewed him not too long ago. Him and O
oh, word up.
Word, yeah.
Yeah, like he I don't know if he still uses acid, but another one of the homies who like uses who used the Sony acid back in the day. And it's a couple of other cats, but uh later, especially like as they made future versions of acid, because when acid first came out, you couldn't use MIDI on it. Like it didn't have VSTs, virtual instruments, or anything. That came later. Once that came later, that's when I started trying to incorporate using like a MIDI keyboard to chop things up over the keys. Um, right now I have a Novation Launch Pad, um, which I use with Ableton, because you can chop things up crazily in Ableton and map it out over these 64 pads. You and have 64 and 64 chops in front of you at once at one time, and then you can scroll down and get 64 more, depending on how finely you chop stuff up. um so now I kind of incorporate that stuff. Another big tenet of my style kind of has always been to, as best as I can, merge sampling with uh playing things on a keyboard.
Mm,
I'm not a keyboardist. I don't consider myself a keyboardist. I feel like I got a decent ear, and that's how I, am able to add instrumentation through having a decent ear and the marvels of recording technology, where you can just record bits and pieces and edit it, and as long as you take the time, you can kind of get things how you want them to sound. You don't have to be a virtuoso.
yeah. There's an art to being able to manipulate like vocal samples and still have such a dope, beat making effect, man. Like, so props for you for being able to to deliver that on a lot of your tracks. I think
Thank you.
there's another track that I really like of yours. It's from the Trenches project. It's called Why Is He Strong as Me? And it has sort of the same kind of vocal chops happening. So
Mhm.
like, yeah, that's probably one of my favorite beats from you. Yeah,
Thank
man.
you. Thank you.
Dope.
I don't know if you are up on this, but the homie Open Mike Eagle actually did a MF Doom tribute over that beat.
That's where I heard it. I know
Mhm.
I heard somebody rap over it. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I remember. Nah, yeah, I was like, I know I heard somebody rap over that. Yeah, that's what's up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that track.
Word up. Word up. Thank
Like,
you, man. Thank you
yeah,
for checking that out.
indeed. It's funny because that's where I heard it first. The
Ah.
open mic, and then as I was going through your catalog, I'm like, oh, I like this track, but I knew I heard it somewhere else. So
Mhm.
yeah, man. You didn't you have a placement on something else the other day? I think it was the IDK track.
Yeah. Crazy placement. Like, like I still don't know how that happened. But there's a track by IDK called Red.
Right.
It features West Side Gun, like 4 bars from MF Doom, J Electronica,
Right.
and it's got ad libs from Mike Jones.
That's amazing. I heard the track. I like it. I like it. Wow. So
It's
what,
it's
what
it's a
exactly?
crazy world.
Yeah, I know. It's such an interesting track. Like, what exactly did you contribute? Like, how much did you contribute to the track?
Well, uh, the original version of that beat is more so like boom bap kind of style to try to describe it simply. Um, that main sample uh that kind of goes throughout the whole track, that's kind of the main part that they kept. I had a bass line on it. They kind of redid it because as far as like the final track, I'm a co-producer on it.
Got it.
You know what I'm saying? They because the thing that I've I guess learned or begun to learn is that like the way things are done kind of in like the mainstream pool is that like there will be a lot of people that will touch something. You know what I mean? Whether it be like other players, because on that track, they got a keyboardist going to town. You know what I'm saying? Um, but like essentially like the main idea, that sample that comes on at the beginning, like I'm responsible for that. Um, and then they kind of like just built it out in the style that they wanted to go for, because the style of the beat on the final song is more kind of in that trap style, which
Got
is something that I can do, but that beat as it existed and was sent to them was not that.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying?
What was your response like when you found out that that's what it turned into?
Man, it was great. I was happy, man. Like, I was kind of just happy to have an opportunity to get heard by more people. And I actually I like all styles of beats.
Right.
Um and I've been around long enough to understand that when you collaborate with people, you can't like fall in love with your own idea of
Right.
what the thing is. You got to be willing to like let people have their input, you know what I'm saying? So for me, it was just a cool experience to be able to like, make a song that gets heard by so many more people than I'm used to hearing my stuff, to meet these new people uh digitally. At this point I haven't met anybody in person, but like to forge these new relationships, and to have opportunities to like make more stuff with these people in the future.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Which for any producer, like, you want to get placements, you want to make connections, you want to, you know, build good relationships.
Yeah.
So, that's a step in that direction, which so I'm very happy about.
Dope. Dope. So on the song Magic Crystals, you have some very clever wordplay display. You start the track with the words, too many acts be lab assemble from fashion stencils. Notice the whack minstrel classism cash grab corner you've backed up into due to lack potential. And you go on to say other stuff. Um, you do this, you mentioned kind of like this clever wordplay and this, putting together these words earlier in the interview. Like you do it a number of times in your music. How are you able to pack so many different words and syllables in your rhymes and still make the bars make sense?
Well, see, here's the thing, to again go back to what I was saying earlier. This is why it's so difficult, because I care so much about it making sense. It may take, I don't remember how long it took to write that, but like until it makes sense, it's not done. So I'm sitting there writing down, again, like couplets of sounds, and trying to figure out a logical thread to get from one part to the next. You know what I'm saying? Lab assembled, fashion stencils, whack minstrel, lacked potential,
Right.
fast dismissal, sacramental, backs of Brit. You know what I'm saying? I'm just trying to figure out like how to keep connecting these things to make sense, because it's kind of like you can kind of even think of it like a combo multiplier. You know what I'm saying? Like if I can keep the sound going and also make sense, I'm just like multiplying damage. Like that's the way I'm looking at it. You know what I'm saying?
Yo, man, it's pleasing to the MC fans' ear, I would say. Like when you take the time to really structure it and display it and also deliver it in that way, man. So props to
Thank
you.
you.
So the EP is called Old Man Raps, but there's nothing outdated, or I would even go as far to say fragile about it, right? The last verse on Surfs Up, the song Surfs Up, exemplifies this excellence. You say, even with all the strength that we can muster, it's hard for me to leave the structure when my people suffer from need to puncture, saw the lack of legal buffers. I'd rather be an evening plumber with a striking plunger. No, I'm sorry. I'd rather be an evening plumber with a stinking plunger than be deep in a slumber, even if I miss a week in summer.
Even if I miss a week in summer deep in Tika Sumter. You know, that's again like trying to carry on those rhyme schemes.
Yeah.
Throw in something a little silly, throw in a little like mini jewel, you know what I'm
Right.
saying?
In putting all of those words together to create this clever display of lyricism, how do you still manage to tie your wordplay to a specific message or meaning? Like that one, I could say like the meaning is kind of like what you start with, like, where you say, even with all the strength that we muster, it's hard for me to leave the structure when my people suffer. It's like you saying you don't want to turn your back on your people. So you're still tying that full barrage of rhymes to a message, right? Like how are you able to do it when you're able to get that message out?
Well, you know, sometimes it feels kind of like magic. Like cuz like I say, a lot of the times I'm writing down these couplings of words just to get the sounds and see what looks or sounds pleasing. But then there's always that process of like, what is the logical thread to get from this one to the next one? And again, like if I can't connect those threads, it don't come out. So like this is just like time being taken to like, okay, I got this part down. This part sounds sweet. I like it. Okay, what else do I have from these couplings of words that maintains the rhyme? Okay, I got this one. How can I make this connect in a way that, you know, to me makes sense and also exemplifies some sort of message that I can stand behind,
Yeah.
in general, or at the very least within this song. You know what I'm saying? Um, so it's kind of like playing a game. You know what I'm saying? I don't always go into it with a specific message. Sometimes the message just emerges through like playing with the words.
Right. Oh, okay, I got it.
You
Yeah,
know,
like
which
I said, most of your music you don't really hear like a one concept or a message, but there are some lines that you can pick out and you can be like, oh, it's tied to something meaningful,
yeah.
is what I was saying. Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm I'm very rarely going to just say something just to say it.
Right.
Um, and again, if that logical thread is not there, it's not coming out. You're not gonna hear it. Um, so yeah, I just like to make sure stuff makes some kind of sense, even if it's random. You know what I mean?
Dope. So the the next project I want to talk about is your 2016 album. I think this might be the one like sort of full length project that features you as an MC like right through.
Mhm.
What was the reason why you chose to title this album I Didn't Ask for This?
Uh, if I'm remembering correctly, man, it was a lot of just messed up life stuff going on at the time. The main thing around that time was like, I was driving a very old, terrible car, which is actually what is depicted on the cover, and that car died at just the worst time.
Mm.
So like, you know, I kind of had a feeling of like, man, I didn't ask for all these terrible things to happen, like, you know, uh, you know, in my life, and just in a different way, like, you know, and just pursuing music. Like at the time, I was just feeling like, man, like I feel like I felt like really like painted into a corner by my decision making. You know
Mm.
what I mean? Like, you know, I wasn't really I didn't really feel I guess that my decision making had led me to a great place. Um, you know, so a lot of that music, it was weird, man, because I felt like so painted into a corner and like back against the wall. It was kind of wild how at a point it became much easier to write all of these songs.
Mm.
Um, you know what I mean? Like it was a very weird time. It you know, and I'm sure other people experience. Oops, I'm sorry. I'm sure other people experience this kind of feeling too, where like when things get super tough, something just emerges, and that's
Mm.
kind of how I was feeling at the time, man. Like the material was just coming, which is why, you know, I was able to put out a project that had, you know, 10 tracks and a bonus track of rapping, because the stuff was really coming out at the time. And on that album, you get to see, like, I got some random stuff. I got a couple of songs that do kind of got a concept. I got you know, some songs that have some choruses, which is not always the feature of my music, choruses. You know, some of the choruses feature me singing, you know, so I was at the time I was able to kind of give, you know, bits and pieces of all of these things that I'm interested in one project. And it's probably like the project that I'm the proudest of,
Mm.
you know, as far as like all of my music. You know, I produced all the beats on that album. You kind of do get to see what I was talking about earlier, how like a lot of the beats are very simplistic when
Mm.
compared to like the stuff that I do on beat tapes or for other artists. Cause that's the type of stuff that I like to rap on. You know what I'm saying? Uh, but uh, but yeah, I don't know if that answered the question.
That definitely answered the question.
Word up.
Yeah. So the song Swag Fest from that same album, you say your alter ego is a supreme leader of a race of tall bird people. You're called Nerd Eagle. Expound a little bit more on Nerd Eagle and the reason why you identify with him as an alter ego.
Oh, you know what? That was one of those. That was just one of those silly like wordplay things. You know what I mean? Like,
Like,
just trying to like. Go ahead. What did you say?
I said, I'm like, who is this Mr. Nerd Eagle?
I think Mr. Nerd Eagle like emerged and disappeared all in that track. I don't think he ever made a return. But
Like, how did you even arrive at that? I know you know it came with the wordplay, but like, what sparked your mind to come up with that?
well, I mean, we kind of touched on it a little bit, man. I'm kind of a silly scatterbrain person. And so
Right,
sometimes with the raps, man, if it just makes me giggle, it's gonna go in the rap.
right.
You know what I'm saying? Tall bird people, I'm called nerd. Like that's just silly.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And then
I
also the challenge. Oh, go
bird
ahead.
people
I'm sorry.
first. No, I'm sorry. I think you got to kind of come up with the tall bird people first. Maybe I should have asked that. How'd you come up with the tall bird people? Because it's easy to get the Nerd Eagle from the
Right.
tall bird people.
Well, this is definitely one of those things where it was like, how can I match the rhyme as much as possible? So like all alter ego, tall bird people,
Got it.
called nerd eagle. And like it's very random, but it makes sense in its own little weird universe of me saying my alter ego is a supreme leader of a race of tall bird people. I'm called Nerd Eagle. You know what I'm saying? It's silly, but it makes sense within that space.
Yes, it does. In that own little space, yeah. But that's what makes it so clever. It's like it's one of those things like, who would even think of that? You know, that's why I asked, like, where did it come from? But from what you're saying, it sounds like it's coming from just the sounds, you know, being able to piece these sounds together. Like, you hear the sounds and you're creating words out of these sounds.
It comes from that, definitely, but it also just comes from like being a silly person and just
Right.
trying to farm out the willingness to be silly on record. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people, it's funny, man. A lot of MCs are very silly people off the microphone.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of humorous MCs out there who rap very seriously or rap very violently or whatever on the microphone. I'm the type of person where like I want that to be part of my approach to rapping as well. This is how I am off the microphone. I'm silly. I say silly things all the time. I have a podcast of my own where sometimes or most of the time it's with me and my two group mates from Detroit City. We're three silly individuals and we have silly conversations all the time. That's like the crux of our friendship, our shared silliness. That's part of me. And so like to me, that's an important part for me to put in my raps, the silliness, the humor.
Yeah.
And so like, you know, why not talk about being a leader of bird people? You know, that's incredibly silly.
Listen, I've said this before a number of times on my podcast. It's actually a skill set to be able to deliver that as an MC. There's not a lot of MCs that are able to do that. And you are somebody that I've never really given thought about, but you actually do that really well. Like, I would reference 3 artists that can do that really well. And it's the late great MF Doom, the late great Sean Price, and Fonte of Little Brother. Those are like 3 MCs that I know have a very good way at being funny but clever with their lyrics. And as I'm thinking about you, you're one of them too. Like, that's
Oh,
not
man.
easy to do. Like,
Excuse me.
I mean, honestly, I'll say this: it's you, right? So it probably comes off easier than I think, but I think it's a skill set. Like, it's unique. It's not like everyone can do that. You know what I mean? So
Thank you. I mean, it's definitely something that I try at. Like I put in effort to do that in a way that feels good to me. All of those people that you named are inspirations of mine,
Word.
to various degrees. I also want to throw the Open Mike Eagle back in there. Like Open Mike Eagle is very much an inspiration to me too. Who I believe, I mean, definitely MF Doom is one of Mike's inspirations. He said that everywhere.
Right,
You
right.
know what I'm saying? So like there's a thread there as well. It's one of the reasons why he's one of my favorite rappers and one of my favorite people to produce for. It's because he also has a similar approach of
Right.
like leaning into that humorous part of his personality. And the way he also chooses to like couple words together, you know what I'm saying, is comes from a similar place, you know.
Indeed, indeed. So on the track Anxiety Rap, Why I Don't Attend Parties, you tell a story of being sort of an introvert at a house party and staying to yourself. And in asking for the Wi-Fi password, you find out that it's a racist slogan, like the password itself.
Mm.
Can you tell me what inspired you to even write that song and how you came up with the subject matter?
Well, I, you know, to you know, just blanketly give myself a title of introvert or extrovert is a oversimplification. But in general, I'm introverted. I you know, on most days I would rather be at the crib than out in the streets. Um, and I think at the time I just wanted to write something that was topical from a real topic, you know, from a real feeling that I feel. So of course, gave it a silly spin in just describing like being at a, you know, weird party. And uh as far as how I got to the ending, I didn't know that that's where it was going to go. That was one of those things where it's like, as I was writing, I was like, oh, maybe I could go in this direction. And then again, figuring out how to use sounds and some sort of wit to like have a cohesive, logical statement. It's a very ridiculous story that's being told, and it's very improbable. You're not go. I'm in most cases, you're not gonna go somewhere where somebody's gonna have a racist slur in their Wi-Fi password, and
Right.
then just give it to the person who the slur is referring to. Like that's not gonna happen. But I was sitting there writing, and I got to that point. I just thought that might be funny. I mean, it made me laugh in the moment, so I was like, "Hey, let's do it."
Yeah, like it's like really interesting to hear you talk about how you even came to that. Like when you say you didn't know that it was gonna end up there. Like you're even like kind of like singing and ad-libbing at the end, which also kind of makes the track a strong track as well. Let's talk about your first. I and you could correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is your first MC EP entitled Giant Slide.
I actually did one a long time ago. What'd you say?
Was it the first one on Bandcamp?
Oh yeah, I don't fault you for anything, man, because I got way too much stuff on there and just
Okay.
out. Period. You know what I mean? Um,
Yeah,
yeah, I'm trying to think.
so it was released. Giant Slide was released in like around 2014. Tell me a bit about the actual giant slide that exists in Detroit that you spoke about in the description, and why it inspired you to do an EP named after it.
Well, when it comes to like naming things, I'm super random. I mean, that's the recurring theme and the thread that flows through everything is like randomness. Whatever's on my mind at the time tends to make it into the music. As far as like the literal giant slide, um, we got this park in Detroit called Belle Isle. Belle Isle is like a little island that's connected to Detroit by this bridge, the Belle Isle Bridge. Whoa, things are falling over here. On the island, there used to be like there's still a giant slide there now. But it's not the same one that was there when I was a youth. They like tore that one down and like moved the location and rebuilt a different one. But it was basically just like a really big slide with a bunch of humps, and you'd have to walk up these long stairs to get up to the top, and they give you like a potato sack, and then you sit on it and slide down the slide. And if any part of your limbs hung off that sack and touched that slide, you were gonna get like a nice little burn by the friction of the slide or whatever. I don't remember exactly why it was on my mind at the time, but like the giant slide is kind of like an iconic thing for like a lot of Detroiters. Because it was incredibly fun because the slide probably went up in the air like 50 feet. I don't know, something like that. So you had to go up a whole bunch of stairs, and it went down very fast. And it was a good time. you know.
You know what's interesting about your music and this display of it is the artwork. So I noticed that a lot of your cover art takes on this sort of like minimalistic, presentation. Like what inspires you to kind of keep that consistency with the minimalistic display of your cover art?
Well, honestly, man, the minimalism comes from like having to do it myself. You know what I mean? Like a lot of these covers, if I didn't do it myself from beginning to end, my partner at the time would kind of like take my Photoshop files and kind of refine them and kind of fix them up. but they would essentially be like a cleaned up version of my however far I could get on my own. Because I don't really, I use things like Photoshop and Illustrator, but I'm not an expert at those things.
Right.
And I kind of had this philosophy, man, of like I don't really like I mean it's not really a philosophy, it's kind of a character flaw, man. Like I don't really like asking for help too much. And I feel like if I get help from people, I want to be able to compensate them. So a lot of this stuff is coming from like not really feeling like I had the means to compensate people
Right.
sufficiently. So I would just have to do it myself. And so in doing it myself, man, like I don't want to like try to do things that are too complicated. So like the minimalism just kind of came out of like minimal skills at making covers, you know what I'm saying? But I have a lot of fun doing that stuff too.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like it kind of comes through in a lot of the covers. You know, that I'm having fun doing those.
Like, what makes you go with it? Like, you know, some people might, like we were talking about earlier, some people might overthink things and be like, you know what, that's not good enough, even if it's you yourself creating it. Like, but I get the sense that you kind of just get it out there. Like, what gives you the confidence to just say, you know what, just get it out there?
Man, I don't, it's not, I don't even know if I would call it confidence, man. I'm very much too self-critical. I overthink things a lot, like in my life. I overanalyze things. And so like in creating music and creating the packaging for it is one of those places where I can like exercise the muscle of not being overcritical and just like, you know, releasing things and releasing that energy a little bit easier than I would in other areas of my life. And I feel like it has helped me like over the years in like practicing that in the release of music to be a little bit less self-critical, to not take myself too seriously, which again is also helped in just being willing to be silly lyrically, you know what I'm saying, and in subject matter. Like it's all of it is kind of aimed towards helping me turn my criticism away from myself. You know, because to not to get too like deep or dark or whatever, man, but I feel like again, like that's a flaw of mine, you know what I mean, like paralysis by analysis and things like that. So like doing music in this way and releasing music in this way is kind of cathartic like that, and just being able to like undertake something and not take it too seriously and just put it out and let the chips fall where they may.
Yeah,
you know.
I dig it. I hear you. So one of the funniest tracks I've ever heard is Dreams in San Francisco. But you're like literally scatting over a jazz instrumental. What's
Wow.
even funnier is the credit says it was released in March of 1935.
Oh man.
What gave you the motivation to even attempt a track like that?
Wow, you dug deep, man, because that's one of those things where it's like this is literally a joke. Like I like I actually I've been trying to like pull the stuff up as you've been bringing things up, and I have it on screen right now. But my girlfriend at the time, I had given her a ride to it was either the dentist or the optometrist. But she had left her MacBook in the car and she had GarageBand on it. So I was just kind of killing time making up silly gibberish songs over the over the GarageBand tracks. And this was one of them. I think at the time I made like 4 of them. And I think I still got them all somewhere. But this was just like a gibberish silly track that I thought was funny, a literal joke. But I was like, you know what? I'm gonna put it on this Bandcamp. So if anybody else thinks it's funny, they can listen to it and laugh at it. You know.
What was the feedback like? Like, what's some of the things people have said in response to this track over the years?
Well, I mean, every now and again, I'll have somebody bring it up and and tell me how funny they thought it was. But it's one of those things where I'm pretty sure like a lot of people haven't heard it before, but the people who have heard it, they'll reach out every once in a while and be like, "Yo, man, you remember when you did that? Or you was scatting?" And they'll sing parts of it, or you know what I'm saying. I enjoy it.
Parts
You know
of it, they remember parts to sing.
Yeah,
Would you ever release that on DSP's digital streaming platform?
I mean, I would. I don't know what the legality of it is, given that it's like the instrumentation is all from GarageBand. I don't know if I could get in trouble for that or
Got
not.
Got
You
it.
know what I'm saying?
Wow. Man. Yeah, I had to ask you about that one. I was like, that one is hilarious. Yeah, man. Like the fact that you, again, like you just being able to say, you know what, let me just put this out. Like, some people would be critical, like, but I think that's the part of being a free artist that is admirable, right? That's you can appreciate, the freeness and your fans being able to hear outcomes like that. Like they can hear like the very silly outcomes, and then they can also hear like the very like clever, intricate wordplay. Like you take it in so many different directions, in regards to your versatility as an artist.
Thank you.
It has been such a pleasure talking to you, Illingsworth.
Oh man, likewise, bro.
Man, we are reaching pretty much, we're in November, like, so we got like one more month after this month before the year is up. Like, what do you have coming? I don't know if to say really the end of the year, but even moving into 2022, like, I have to ask you this question. Is there any likelihood that we will get a full MC project or even an EP from you coming, in 2022 or soon?
I mean, I definitely would like to put out at least a MC EP in the next 6 months.
Okay.
Or just I say in the next 6 months because I never know what could happen. I might get inspired to write a whole EP like in the next month and put something out before the year's up. You know what I'm saying? Like that could literally happen. But I definitely want to put something out in the year 2022, if not before this year's up, of all rapping. Cause again, I love it. It's just it takes time, and in some ways it can be painstaking for me to get things done in a quick manner, but I love rapping. So I want to keep giving people raps. Cause when I do it, even though it's not a lot, I get a good response. Like I enjoy what I put out, and I also get a good response. So I'm like, why not keep doing it? You know what I'm saying?
I dig it. Like, have you thought of like an idea of where you would like to take it, or like even if it's not a concept, like what type of beats, or is there anything you've thought of where, okay, I would like to try this for the next project?
Well,
MC project.
I kind of do want to get a little bit more personal to an extent, but it has to have the humor infused in it. You know what I mean? I don't want to really create anything that's like overall a bummer. You know what I mean? And like the type of depth that I want to bring to it could potentially be a bummer. So I just got to make sure I approach it correctly. But on top of that, I kind of always am coming up with like titles for imaginary projects. So I got like a working like list of titles of what an MC project could be titled. And sometimes I work backwards like that, like title first, then create the material.
Right.
And vice versa. Sometimes the material comes first and then the title comes after. But yeah,
I could dig it. I could dig it. Wow, man, I'm so excited. Yeah, I hope it does come within 6 months. No pressure though, no pressure. When it is to come, it will come. But I wish you nothing but continued success
oh,
with
man.
all of your artist endeavors, man. Like you are definitely uh really dope talent
Thank
in
you.
this time that we're living in, man. It's really great to see an artist like you continue to thrive. And yeah, man, I'm gonna be looking towards much more music from you, beat tape and MC wise, But yeah, man, for those that may not know, you want to give people some insight on where they can find you, whether it be your social media pages, your website, where they can keep connected with you and
Oh,
updated.
definitely. Definitely. And also real quick, I just want to say like I also got a whole bunch of like productions coming out over the
Nice.
next year too, like producing for other artists like full EPs where I'm doing all the production for like a lot of people's favorite artists in like the underground indie level.
Nice.
But yeah, I'm Illingsworth at everything really. Like I'm Illingsworth on Twitter, I'm Illingsworth on Instagram. Uh if you type in Illingsworth on YouTube, you're gonna get to me. I got a podcast called Eternal Invite. My website is illingsworks.com, but it really is just a landing spot to get you to all those other like social profiles I just listed. I'm pretty easy to find. I'm the only rapper with this name. You know.
Illingsworks.com. Let me put it up real quick.
Mhm.
So
If it, Yep.
ILLINGSWORKS.com. Yeah, let's throw that up there for the folks. Yes, man.
Thank you so much.
Illingsworks.com. Yeah, indeed, man. Indeed, man. I guess my last question for you would be, what do you hope your music, like what impact would you hope your music would leave on listeners when it's pretty much all said and done, or maybe even 10 to 15 years from now, when
Mm.
people look back at your music? Like what do you hope the impact it leaves on people?
Well, I mean, I hope it leaves the same impact it kind of leaves on me in creating it, in that it allows people to not take themselves so seriously, that it gives them some laughs, it expands their imagination, it allows them to like embody more of who they actually are versus, some sort of image that they think that people will find palatable and acceptable. You know what I mean? Like my music is just about leaning into that. Like whatever it is that is your quirk or the thing that makes you you, like I hope my music inspires you to like lean into that. Especially if you are also someone who creates some kind of art. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's audio, visual, whatever. Like lean into what makes you unique and follow that as far as you can take it, because that's what we need, man. We don't really need people copying each other. Like we need people to inspire each other and to like carry and pass torches, but like we also need people to put their own spin and uniqueness on it so that we can kind of get more unique flavors in the mix.
Well said, man. Well said.
Thank you.
So, to all of our viewers and listeners, I thank you so much for tuning in to this episode. Remember, we do this weekly. So, next week we will be doing episode 95. Thank you again to my guest, Illingsworth. Remember to go check out his website, illingsworks.com. If you like what you hear, feel encouraged to support him on Bandcamp. He has a lot of music up there. Most of your music is on Bandcamp, right? Like I feel like There's music on DSPs, but like I feel like pretty much you'll get everything on Bandcamp.
Yeah, my Bandcamp is the most inclusive place where you can get all my stuff. It's only one project that is not on my Bandcamp that's one of my releases. You're No Fun is on Mellow Music Group's
Right,
Bandcamp.
right. I noticed that. Yeah.
Mhm.
And it's also on digital streaming platforms.
Yep.
Yep. So yeah, man, definitely, man. I hope you guys enjoyed this interview. Make sure you stay connected. Go to our website, outtheboxmedia.com, so that you can keep updated with all the stuff that we have coming out the box related. You could actually subscribe on that website for free too, so that you could be a part of my email blast list. And that's completely free. And you can support in other ways, whether it's our Patreon page or, copping some merch on our merch store at Big Cartel, outtheboxmedia.bigcartel. So thank you again for tuning in, and thank you again to my guests. Till next time, I want to say peace, love, and light. Stay healthy, stay focused, stay safe. We are out of here. Peace.
Peace.